we have Feven, aka Alganesh in the cosmos, who will be leading us on our beautiful guided full moon workshop today. You will also require your notebooks and pens, because we're going to be using a bit of writing to explore this. You won't be in partners anymore, so it's all good. So yeah, enjoy. Take it away.
Hey, Hey, thank you so much, Reese. Thank you. I really appreciated that. And Sax as well. That was really cool. Because yeah, I mean, I really tap into, I don't know, I've been tapping into quite a lot of depth, obviously preparing for this workshop. And a lot of it's been kind of resolving aspects of like I don't know how I polarized things into the masculine and feminine. And the fact that you were like, oh, he, I was like, oh, cool, like fluidity, that's so me. So yeah, cool. And yeah, I mean, that's probably a strange note to start this off on. Firstly, thank you, welcome. Sorry, someone just called me at the precise moment that I was starting this. That's really annoying. But yes, sorry about that. Yeah. And thank you so much. No, don't worry. You're cool. I just don't really go by genders, so I'm cool with everything. Usually just Feven's fine, or Alganesh in this case, which is a name that I like to that my grandmother gave me when she first met me, when my parents took me to Eritrea. So yeah, and with regards to what we're going to be doing today, a lot of it is about using the energy of what's happening right now, because we've had a shift in what we call nodal axis in astrology, which is essentially a focal point that's calculated on the moon, as if a line's being drawn out, and the zodiac signs that it falls upon. Now, I don't want to get too much into the astrology, because that's not necessarily going to be helpful getting into a lecture. A lot of what today is about is being more functional and trying to find practical ways that we can use language, in ways in which we can use language in order to map out how we've actually been internalizing emotionally reality, what we've been suppressing in our shadow, and how we can transform that and have that reflected back into us, so that we can make movements and actually be able to resolve and heal and do this both as individuals and within the collective. And hopefully, yeah, we can hold space for that today. So thank you all for joining me on this for that. So yeah, the first exercise that we're going to be doing, I was thinking about the theme of language as a map, and how a lot of the words that I use in general, that we all use, can affect the way that we interact with situations, whether they be joyful moments or challenges. So with the first exercise, what I'm going to be asking for us to do is I'm going to be giving a word. So I hope you've all got a... with this word, what I would like you to do is to firstly think about an association, any association, the first thing that comes to your mind with regards to this word. And then I want you to follow that on with another word, but this association is with the second word. So you forget about the first word and you're just associating with the second word. And then you do this with the third word onto the fourth. Does this make sense to everybody? So if anybody doesn't understand, can you give me, just raise your hand so I can, please repeat. Cool. So what I was saying is, with this exercise, I will be giving you a word. And over the course of 1 minute, what I would like you to do is, after I give you this word, I want you to write down the first thing that comes to your mind, just without thought or filter. And then after you put this word down, follow it with the next word that follows without thought or filter. And just continue this on until the minute is up. Is that now clear for everyone? Yeah? Okay, fantastic. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to set a timer now. And the word that I would like you to think about is creativity. Please begin. Paolo, where's your phone? Oh, it's with me. It's with me. Your Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to quickly jump onto the next word, denial. Okay, so now we're going to move into our final word, which is resolution. Oh, sorry about that. Resolution. Okay, thank you so much. We're all done. And yeah, before we move on, I'd just wondering how if anybody wants to share how that made them feel moving through that. That's absolutely fine. I think we'll move on to the next exercise. And I think as well, I can give a bit more context as to why it is that we've engaged in this exercise. So something that comes up a lot at these critical eclipse points are this, oh, thank you, Darish, are these feelings that we get, where it's almost like this unearthing, this arising of feelings that can sometimes be not only explosive but also quite overwhelming. Now, there are lots of practices that we can take on where we use the themes that fall on our birth chart in relationship to this, as well as thinking about how we can use our creativity in order to create a conversation with our shadow. Now, the two themes that are coming up quite a lot with this in this polarity is Sagittarius and Gemini. And Gemini is an air sign and Sagittarius is fire. Now, personally, I do make quite a lot of associations between the zodiacs and the elements, and particularly where in the zodiac they appear. Now, Gemini is much more of a youthful and personal energy because it's the first air sign of the zodiac. So in terms of communication, it's joyful, it's youthful, it's flourished, it's ready to, it's excited. It's like this readiness for dialogue, sometimes a bit overwhelming and erratic, but always, there's curiosity and there's thirst for knowledge. In contrast, Sagittarius, which is where the South Node is now creating an aspect, is much more, it's the last fire sign in the zodiac, it's the final one. And it's much more of this feeling of ancient fire, of, this sort of old knowledge and truth and that coming to life. Now, when these two collide, it can create quite, especially with all the other aspects that are happening, it doesn't take much of a YouTube search to find out that there's a lot happening in 2020. Or forget a YouTube search, just look outside, look at the news, look at what's happening on social media. There's a lot exploding out of the collective shadow, things that have been suppressed, things that have been cast aside. Now, there was something that Cherie said to me earlier today that really touched me, where she said self-care is warfare. And I really, really appreciated that. And I think especially for us as Black women, for all of us as humanity though as well, it's something that we have to be aware of, because there's a lot of things happening right now. I know I'm spending a lot of time needing to, protect my energy, really protect my energy on social media platforms. And I'm sure a lot of other people have felt this way. So yes, today is going to be about trying to think about ways we can constructively converse with our shadow. And the first step towards doing that is changing our attitudes towards our creativity, because I'm sure we've all had this feeling where we know that there's this thing that's inside of us that needs to be expressed. This thing that's like a deep truth, sometimes almost like a generational like hurt and wound that just wants to scream and wants to shout. And there are all these other things, these other layers of, oppression, things that have been told to us when we try to speak our truth, when we try to exist, when we try to own space, and that sometimes unconsciously we use excuses, we use justifications, negative thoughts, but that's what stops us from being able to just tap into that power and create the change both within that can then be reflected out, which is something else that the lunar eclipse brings to the forefront. What's reflecting out? What does the shadow reveal? So obviously there's not much time. So a lot of this is about, trying to plant the seeds in terms of questions that you can then take away and explore for yourself. So yeah, without much further ado, I'll stop giving my spiel and we can begin with the exercise. So the first thing that I would like you to do is is everyone ready with their pen and paper? Should I give you a minute? All good? Okay. Sharice is giving me the thumbs up, so I'll take that as a yes. Sorry, I'm using my phone, so I don't actually have the gallery view, unfortunately. I can't enjoy everyone's faces at once, but that's okay. I'll just feel you. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing this space with me. And yeah, I guess we'll begin. So what I would like everyone to begin with is to think about a justification or an excuse that they give for not, being able to do the creative thing that they want to do, and a moment where that's arisen this week, an excuse that you've given. Is that clear? Or should I repeat the question? Okay, everyone's right. I see people writing. It's okay. Okay. So I would like you to think about an excuse or justification that you've given over the last couple of weeks for not fulfilling a creative wish or desire to make. Is that better? Next, I would like you to think about a negative thought over the last 2 weeks that you've had about your creativity or something that you have made. I want you to think about a negative thought that you've had about your creativity or something that you have made. Is that okay? Cool. Finally, I'll give you a moment. Finally, I want you to think about a time over the last couple of weeks where you took an action that you knew didn't help you or serve your highest creative good, but still did it. Speaking of sanctuaries, I thought I'd share my little space. I love soul. Anyone that knows me knows I fucking love soul. For today, with my hula hoop, my space rainbow. Da, da, da. Okay, so are you ready to continue? I think I see a couple of people. You all look ready? Okay, nice, fantastic. So that's the first part of the exercise. We've got the tough bit out of the way. Now moving on to the next bit. So this is the transformative bit. So something that is so beautiful about Gemini energy when combined with Sagittarius is there's this illumination that Sagittarius brings, you know, this ancient fire. It gives you guidance through the shadows, through the realms that, you know, can be really, really hard to navigate. It's almost like an ancestor's right there next to you telling you, it's okay, B, keep going, keep surviving, keep thriving, you know. And everybody has different ways of relating to that. And the Gemini energy, the airy, youthful, inquisitive, curious, you know, that energy that's willing to be open-minded and receive, you know, this is something that we're trying to embody today. So we hope that even though you've now been able to acknowledge this heaviness in the aspect of your I'm so sorry. Let's ignore that happened. It was my timer. I was in a flow as well. Okay. But what we're going to do now is we're going to create a rush of air, transform it, and we're going to take each aspect that you've now jotted down, see whichever, I guess some of you may have written one thing, maybe you wrote a few things. What I want you to do though, for the 3 questions, the 3 parts, we're going to go through them one by one, and I'll guide you through it, and we're going to see how we can switch that ish up. Okay, using language, right? We love it. Okay, so first one was justification. So we were looking at some of the justifications or excuses that we give when greeted with creativity or a creative challenge or making something, right? So now what I'd like us to think about is how we can turn those into words of encouragement. How can you look at this justification that you give and turn it into an encouragement for positive action to create? Yes, so I'm going to give you 30 seconds for that. Let's go. Hey, yes, we're back. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one, nice and swiftly. So the next thing that we asked was about a negative thought or a helpful thought that you had about yourself. So now I want to ask you to turn that into an affirmation. By the way, Pauline, you're a mind reader. I swear you said like affirmation time. It was literally affirmation time. So I want us to all see how we can turn this into an affirmation beginning with I am. So turn this negative thought into an I am and embody it. Yes, okay, so 30 seconds. Okay, so final thing. I see a few of you are writing. By the way, I highly recommend, like I said, these are tools for you to revisit. So definitely get back to it. But the final thing, because I want to make sure that I'm not taking up too much time and too much space, is yeah, the most exciting one, I think, because it's looking at the negative actions and how you can turn that into an act of self. Thank you, Cordy. How you can take that and turn that into an act of self-love. So I want you to think about that. You've got 30 seconds. Fire away. If you have any questions, was that clear for everyone? Okay. Okay, so what I was saying is, oh, it's all coming at me now. I think my internet froze. Can you hear me? Oh, yep. Okay, cool, fantastic. I was saying the final request is that you take the negative action and see how you can turn that into an act of self-love. So turn that into something that makes you feel joyful, that makes you feel lifted, that helps your creativity and helps bring you into the greatest part of yourself and makes you feeling good about yourself. I think we can all relate to that one way or the other. Okay, we're all done now. Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm really excited because I'm kind of new to the game of like workshops, and yeah, I don't know, this is cool. Thank you so much for sharing space with me. Of course, I'm still working on clarity and making sure that everyone understands me, but I hope you were all able to feel embraced and welcomed into this, you know, feeling of, yeah, transformation. You the magic, baby, and we definitely need the magic right now. There's so much healing, so many wounds to be able to look at and use our alchemical capacities, use our capacities of transformation to bring about the change that we need so we can act from a place of balance, of security, of peace. But I don't need to preach anymore. What I need to do is give you guys the tools. Yeah, we love tools. I love tools. I'm constantly trying to find ways to be practical. I'm actually Capricorn rising and moon, as Sax mentioned earlier. So, and I only recently realized that my whole life was a lie. I thought I was Sagittarius rising for like my whole life. And then my parents just dropped the bomb that, no, you're born 5:15. I was like, what? This changes everything. So there you have it. You need to make sure you know the time of birth. So the first thing that we'll be doing is that I'll actually be recommending that people do is, if you can, and I'll drop the link in the chat later, go on Cafe Astrology onto their whole sign houses, and using the whole sign house system, put in your date of birth and the time of birth. Now, once you have the chart, I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but don't worry. If you break it down nice and easy, it can actually be really helpful, especially with the North Node, South Node. So what you do is search for what the Sagittarius symbol looks like. It's like an arrow pointing up with a little line, but that probably made no sense, so Google it. And then what you do is, I'll be putting, don't worry, the website I'll be putting down there later. It's just I've got a phone, so it's hard to do things. Yeah. So once, yes, oh, perfect. Thank you, Dirish. So helpful. Thank you, lovely. So that's the Sagittarius sign. So look for that on the chart. And with that, you'll find a number in that segment. Now, when you find that number, that's the house that the South Node is now falling in. So what you can do is, if you research, you can go on YouTube. There's so many resources out there, so many people with the knowledge that are talking about it. Find out what the themes are around this house. So for example, in my case, it is the 12th house. I thought it was the first house, but no, it's the 12th house. So that's bringing up feelings of, themes of rebirth. I've seen a lot of people talk about being Gemini risings. So this will be your first house. So this is themes around yourself and around the body and around well-being as well. Belkai, Gemini rising, I love it, beautiful. So there's so many different, everybody's individual, everyone's different, and there's different aspects that you can pay attention to. But this is one way that you can prepare as we go through all these eclipse seasons, because this year there's hella eclipses, 6 of them. So a lot of pivotal changes in the sky, you know, a lot of switch ups. And the next tool that I had is, yes, Cafe Astrology indeed, but I'll be putting it in later. So the next thing that I would recommend that can be really helpful is, so now we've had this opportunity to transform, but it's really beautiful when we can actually see our words reflected back at us and to see the beauty in the shadows. So a really beautiful exercise I came across earlier this week was, a friend of mine was like, why don't you write on your windows? I was like, what do you mean? And I started using acrylic pens to write affirmations on the window, which had light hitting through it. And it's a really magical process of getting to know the place that you look out of and dream out of, but also to see when the light hits, to have the shadow of the words reflected back on you. But they're beautiful affirmations and an opportunity for you to wake up in the morning and look at something and know that you've taken one step closer towards changing the way that you feel about your shadows, because your shadow is creating so much beauty. So yeah, this is another idea. I will write this all down in the chat for people to reflect on later, not earlier. I'm sorry, I'm nervous, I'm getting confused. Yeah, thank you so much, Charisse. So I'm gonna wrap this up. And yeah, I guess leave it there. I've probably, run out of time. Okay, cool. Thank you, Charisse.
No worries, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed that little exercise and you're feeling like you got somewhere to start with all of that. That was beautiful. That was her first one of these kinds of workshops, and yeah, I knew she'd be perfect for it. I had a feeling, and yeah, she followed through, so that's amazing. And all the gratitude that you're showing on the chat as well is being seen and is being felt, and I hope you all feel it too.